She waited a decade to get the perfect revenge on her father's mistress. A woman who wanted a baby more than anything in the world. So our storyteller waited until her childbearing years were completely over, to tell her the one secret that would destroy everything. This story was told by a dear friend who has since passed, and it is a story of love, betrayal, and a revenge so cold it's almost beautiful. She was an only child, born to 2 loving parents after a very difficult pregnancy. So difficult, in fact, that her dad got a vasectomy to ensure they'd never risk her mom's life again. Life was perfect. Until it wasn't. In the middle of college, her world shattered. Her mom was diagnosed with the most aggressive form of ovarian cancer. The same disease that had taken her grandmother and her great-aunt. The odds were not good. And I don't know what her father was thinking. I really don't. But shortly after the diagnosis, he started an affair with his coworker, a woman just a few years older than his own daughter. And this coworker, she was clever. She started weaving herself into their lives. She'd go shopping for them, clean the house. She even sat with the dying mother during chemo treatments when no one else was there. And our storyteller had no clue. Not a single one. She just thought this woman was a saint, an angel helping a family in their darkest hour. Her mom fought. She fought so hard. But it wasn't enough. One day, visiting her in hospice, they were playing a simple board game. Her mom suddenly got very quiet, looked right at her and said, "You do know your dad isn't planning to reverse his vasectomy, right?" Confused, she just said, "Yeah, I know." Why? Her mom just held her gaze. "I think you'd best keep it in mind." They finished the game. That night, as she was leaving, her mom told her, "You'll be fine on your own." She died in her sleep that night. It was like she knew. She knew she was leaving, and she had just handed her daughter a weapon. And of course, the coworker was right there by their side. Helping plan the funeral. Bringing food. And slowly, so slowly you'd barely notice, moving her things in. It was like a frog in a pot of water, the temperature rising degree by degree until it was too late. A year later, she had fully moved in. She was a permanent fixture. It took a while, but suspicion finally started to creep in. Our storyteller started digging, and what she found made her sick to her stomach. The affair had started almost immediately after her mom's diagnosis. She saw red. She was furious, heartbroken, and ready to confront them both, to blow their lives apart right then and there. She had her phone in her hand, ready to make the call. But then, something else struck her. A memory. During one of her visits, the coworker had mentioned to both her and her dying mother how much she and her fiancé wanted to have children someday. And in that moment, it all clicked into place. Her mother knew. Her mother knew the entire time that this affair was happening under her own roof. And with her final words, she wasn't just giving a warning. She was giving her daughter permission. She was trusting her to bring the truth to light. But our storyteller didn't just want to spill the beans. She wanted to twist the knife. She decided to play the long game. It was a huge gamble. But it was one she was willing to take. So she said nothing. She swallowed her rage and she watched. She watched them date, get engaged, and 3 years later, get married. She squealed with delight when they announced their engagement. She wore a proud smile on their wedding day and gave a beautiful toast at the reception. She even went out of her way to hide her dad's old urology test results, tucking them away where the new wife would never find them. Every single day was a battle. She was screaming on the inside, wanting the entire world to know how they had betrayed her mother in her final, agonizing days. She came so close to breaking, so many times. But she held on, knowing the payoff would be worth the pain. Time marched on. They played happy family. She got married to a wonderful man and had her own children. Her dad and his new wife played the role of doting grandparents. But she could see it. She saw the pained look on the coworker's face every time she held one of the babies. A deep, aching sadness that she was desperately trying to hide. What happened next is the part one still can't believe. Years had passed. She and the coworker had a tradition of getting coffee together. A ritual started shortly after her mom's death. They'd have girl talk. They'd laugh, they'd cry. It was all a performance, a masterpiece of deception. But on this particular day, the coworker was different. She was sullen, her eyes were red and puffy. She'd clearly been crying. Our storyteller asked what was wrong. And she couldn't believe her ears. The coworker confessed she'd been struggling to get pregnant for years. She'd always blamed it on stress from work. But then her periods started getting irregular. She finally went to a doctor. The diagnosis was brutal. She was entering perimenopause. Her chances of conceiving were almost zero. The doctor had told her, in no uncertain terms, that her childbearing years were over. As she made sympathetic noises, the coworker sobbed, "It just doesn't make sense. We tried so hard to have kids, but I was never able to get pregnant. I just don't know why." And that was it. The moment she had waited for. The moment her mother had prepared her for from her deathbed. She leaned in, her voice full of false concern. "You mean? Dad didn't tell you?" "Didn't tell me what?" the woman asked, her eyes wide with confusion. She fought back a smile. She played the part perfectly, acting hesitant, saying it wasn't her place to tell, that she couldn't believe he hadn't told her himself. She made the woman beg for it. And then, she delivered the final blow. She told her about the vasectomy. The one her dad got decades ago. The one he had absolutely no intention of ever reversing. You should have seen her face. She just deflated, like a balloon losing all its air. Her shoulders slumped, her head fell into her hands, and she just sobbed. Uncontrollably. Our storyteller wanted to cheer. She wanted to scream with victory. But that would have ruined everything. So instead, she wrapped her arms around the weeping woman. She rubbed her back and whispered comforting lies. She told her how horrible her dad was for not telling her, how he had wasted her time, how she deserved so much better. And all the while, she was fighting the biggest smile of her life. When the woman finally left, she promised she would always be there for her, but she knew. She knew she would never see her again. Why would she? She was a living reminder of the man who had stolen her dream. Once she was finally alone, she wept. She wept with joy that it had all paid off. And she wept with a deep, profound sorrow that her mother wasn't there to see it. That was the last time she ever saw or spoke to her father's mistress. A few weeks later, her dad called, absolutely furious. The coworker had packed her bags and left, hitting him with divorce papers on her way out. She had screamed at him for his dishonesty, for letting her waste all of her childbearing years on a lie, and for leaving it to his daughter to tell her the devastating truth. He yelled into the phone, "How could you do that to us? We loved you." Her voice was ice. "You and Mom did a good job teaching me how to keep secrets." She hung up the phone. And that was it. She never spoke to him again. The revenge was perfect. It was cruel. It was horrible. But it was complete. She knew she should have just told the truth from the beginning, as her mother probably intended. She shouldn't have let that woman waste her youth on a fantasy. But then she remembers the betrayal. She remembers a woman pretending to be a friend to her dying mother while sleeping with her husband. And it's hard to feel much compassion. This was a revenge plot born from a mother's dying words and executed with a daughter's chilling patience. It wasn't just about exposing an affair, it was about taking away the one thing the other woman wanted most in the world, just as she had taken away her mother's peaceful final days. But was it justice, or did she become just as cruel as the people who hurt her? Let me know in the comments. Was this decade-long revenge a masterpiece, or did she go way too far?